I keep repeating myself, but that's another great example of the roads out here. Even when you turn off the pavement, they're still wide open. A lot of them, the majority of them. And I can say, after having done this many times with the stock Sprocket, as far as fun factor, acceleration, just cruising down this road, this Sprocket is nothing but an improvement. It's just smoother. Everything about the bike is smoother. Now, the suspension on this bike is about all you need to do anyway. How much faster you're really starting to push it. I'm thinking I may leave it on for a while. I think I might turn around here and try one of these hills. We'll see what it'll do with this 15 tooth. Let's leave it in first. No complaints there. Right up it. This is the other one I want to try if it's not too rutted. These trails out here just get hammered with vehicles and UTVs, and even on a powerful bike they're kind of challenging. We'll try it. I expected it to do a lot worse on that hill. We'll see how it does with this Sprocket on this kind of stuff. this is first gear. I don't know if it's possible to tell in the audio, but first gear is longer for sure, which is really nice. I'm kind of a short shifter, lugger, so I'm kind of liking the ratios being a little, or the gears being further apart. It's kind of nice. I don't know if you can hear it being a little quicker, or sorry, a little slower to kind of come out of these corners, which is, there's your trade-off. Such as that's first gear. It takes a minute to wind up. Definitely would want to make sure you keep your momentum going if you're, oh, it's a little big. If you're climbing anything where you're going to lose momentum, it's probably going to power out on you. Yeah, for instance, there, lugging out of that corner in second is didn't find the right gear in time to climb that hill. There's a great example of how much longer first is. I think I'm in first, yep. Barely wanted to pull out of that hole. Try here too. Yeah, that's it. So if you get stopped, this kind of stuff, yeah, there's your trade-off. It's gonna need some help. I also have got the stock tire back on. I just wore out that's a V rubber. That's what I had on the back, and it actually had some tread left, But I got a flat, and it just didn't seem like it was worth putting it back on with the amount of tread left. I was going to go wear it out on a pavement ride. That didn't work out, so it's probably never getting put back on. So the stock tires, this is the same area I did my first ride on this thing, and that was the very first thing that hit me, was the stock tires are completely inadequate for this kind of terrain. Particularly the front. With this front knobby, this isn't that bad, but you could see the limitations of the rear. Even if you had enough power to spin it, it just kept sliding towards the hole. These V-rubbers were night and day difference as far as this kind of terrain went. Just transformed the bike. It's very same, similar tread pattern to the Shinko 240. I'm gonna mix them up. 244 or 241. I can't ever remember which is the more aggressive of the two, but it's a similar tire to the more aggressive Shinko Golden Boy. I am really tempted to try those the other Shinko, the one that's a little milder in its tread, just to see if it'd be a nice compromise with the amount of pavement I seem to be doing anymore. I was surprised how many miles I got out of that Shinko, or that V-rubber tire. Close to 2,000 miles out of it, probably 17 or so, and it still has, like I said, it still has some tread left. On the subject of the tires, just food for thought, the V-rubber tire is, I didn't know this when I bought them, is a 6-ply, and the stock tire, I believe both the Shinko 241 and 244 in this size are 4-ply tires, and you notice it trying to put them on. It's a very stiff tire, but I think they nailed the compound. As I said, I can't believe how many miles I got out of it. I did not track road miles versus dirt miles, but I would say in those 1,700 miles, a good 300 or 400 of it was pavement. And that's probably a conservative estimate. My very first trip out on this bike with the stock tires, I got a flat, and it was a sticker, just tiny sticker, that punctured through the tread and into the tube. I was really disappointed. And so that's why I was kind of like the idea of a thicker tire just for this kind of terrain. You kind of need it, but more peace of mind. But the cause of my flat, this that I changed yesterday, will look like a pinch flat. It wasn't a nail or thorn or anything like that. I think I might have been negligent in checking the pressures, and I think I remember hitting something at fairly good clip, and I think that's where I got a pinch flat, so it wasn't the tire's fault. I guess what I'm saying is a big fan of the V-rubber tire. I do have a set of the Shinko, whichever one it is, the more aggressive one. But I haven't installed them, and they're 250s. The V-rubbers are 275s. So more to come on those at some point. So this is always a nasty hill. I'm really wondering how this will do. We'll see. If I get stopped, I'm going to be walking it up it. Barely. Yes. If that was a big part of your day, that sort of stuff, you don't want this sprocket or this tire, for that matter. Big hit on the suspension there. That would be another real obvious shortcoming of this bike when you, for this kind of terrain, when your first impression of it is definitely besides the tires, it's the suspension, or lack of. It's pretty cushy, but it's very soft. Stock form, the fork needs more help than the shocks. They're just too soft, even at my weight. You could hear that every once in a while, like it takes a big hit. Another challenging hill. Just usually challenging because of this. This is usually washed out. Not today, luckily. This one usually because it's just so loose. Much higher, we would have ran out of power on that one. Yeah, last time I was here this was incredibly washed out, and it still is. I think we will. This is kind of fun to demonstrate actually. This is one area this bike is really cool without having a clutch. If you need to get through stuff like this and don't want to test your skills by riding through it, you just walk it through it. Not much different than walking a bicycle over it. And believe it or not, I have found that useful many times so far. Going around obstacles, tight trails back in the woods. So just to sum this up real quick, probably won't be quick, on the 15-tooth sprocket on the 125, overall I would say if you don't have this bike, this my opinion, is when I ride it, I find the bike kind of settles in about 40 miles an hour, roughly. It's where it's most comfortable, on wide open stretches of road. So that's just where I find myself most comfortable, is about 40, and anything above that, particularly 45 and above, my view is it's just uncomfortable and buzzy, and I mentioned in the road video, my hands and feet will start to go numb. It's just not fun. So my goal is to see if the 15 tooth would allow it to run more comfortably at a higher speed, and I would say it does do that. It's roughly now feels, and this is rough, these are not exact, about at 45 miles an hour, feels about like it used to at 40 miles an hour. So it just increased that comfort level just a little bit. As you saw in the video, it does, though, run out of steam at the top end of its range, which I quoted in the video. I think I was just hitting 50 on the road video. And I do have to say, I did not do any research on whether the speedometer is affected by this gearing change. I don't know where it pulls the speed from, if it pulls it from the front wheel or the rear or the gearbox. So I should have had GPS going and been able to verify those speedometer indications during the video. So might need to take those speeds with a grain of salt. I may go back out. Well, I will, and I'll GPS it and see if that's drastically changed or altered the stock speedo from reality, and post that in the comments. I have my rear wheel off because of changing the tire again, so I'm not able to quickly go out and do it. So I would stand by that if that's your goal, to get a little more road comfort. 15 tooth does it, with the trade-off of a little less top speed and a little less low-end grunt out on the trail, for sure. It just depends on what you're doing and what you want to compromise and what your personal preferences are. Also, I would say maybe a better solution if you want to take this bike in a more of a highway comfort direction, or I keep saying highway, I just mean open road, is if you remember, stock is 1439. I put a 15 on for this test, quote unquote. Maybe going back to 14 front and doing something like a 38 or 37 in the rear might be a better solution, because it would allow you to kind of maybe keep some of that torquiness and off-road usability, and sort of it would split the difference basically between stock and this setup. I haven't been able to test that. That's a little more work to try a rear sprocket. Maybe, I don't know, if you probably shorten the chain. I'm not quite sure. This was easier to test, basically. I would add this, if you're coming from the Trail 110, I have one of those as well over here. This is a 84 with the dual range gearbox. if you've ridden one of those and you're coming from one or want to compare it to that, you're already giving up the low end capability of that bike with this bike, even in stock form. So you certainly don't want to do a 15, and I could see even going with a 13. I doubt it. Well, I'm sure I don't have all the numbers posted, but even with the 13, it's never going to probably climb like that little guy does. It's pretty amazing what it'll do off-road with the low range on the gearbox. And then too bad Honda didn't do that here. Still a ton of fun off-road. It's interesting that when I take these two out on the same trail, and particularly the paved road that I take out to this trail, they roughly run about 40 miles an hour, both of them. So that was kind of interesting to see. So that's all I got on it. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty cool all-around bike. I wish Honda would just give it a bit more power and a fifth gear, and I would be really happy with it. Maybe that'll happen someday. There are the engine mods I'm sure will start coming out thick and fast, and some of them already available, I believe, big bore kits and whatnot. I'm not a big fan of modding engines like this. I mean, the reason I buy a Honda is for the reliability. So until it's well documented and been on the market for a while, I'm not really interested in doing that yet. Maybe someday. And maybe they'll come out with a little bigger motor and some more features in the future. But that's all I got. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will try to do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.